we have some ideas, but we have to be honest about it. There's a sense in which, the Arab Spring did catch American political elites. It's been surprising. Joe Biden just got back. Mubarak's our friend. We've got to defend our friend. No, Brother Joe. 30 years he's been a dictator. He's been right behind him, standing next to him. I was blessed to speak with the American University of Paris. The Mubarak family, many of whom graduated from the university. That time of that. So when people come to Egypt and they are so impressed by the pyramids there, examples of technological innovation, unbelievable creativity, but I come from a tradition that is suspicious of pharaohs. Of course, those pyramids only allow pharaohs to be buried in them. Ordinary people have to build them. Generation after generation, we can never be buried inside. It's only the bodies of the pharaoh. I said, so as magnificent as they are in terms of edifices, Hebrew scripture over against the pharaohs. New Testament Christian, like I said, over against the pharaohs. I said, and we have a new pharaoh and Mubarak. Boy, it got quiet in there. I want to be respectful. America has had its pharaohs too. I say the same thing if I was in Mexico. I say the same thing about in China. I say the same thing about in Russia with Putin and so forth and so on. So I try to say as much love and smile, but I want to go all the way there. And so I just prefer to do that. Yes. U.S. political elites, they went through this before. God invaded the valley. And we'll see whether that new federal range or whether democratic forces set up a mechanism to bring back accountability, which is checks and balances, to ensure that the president is not literally becoming the yeah.
Now, what's the U.S. role in bringing democracy to the Middle East? Because in order for democracy to exist in the Middle East, you need to topple the authoritarian governments because they can't go
to that dialogue.
So now, do Americans lend themselves to help them to topple these authoritarian leaders, or what's their role in that?
Well, I think again, prudence means that you look at what the live options are in light of the democratic ideas. If it's at a point where it's possible to overthrow autocrats, then I think we ought to fight in a serious way.
So you're saying,
if you're at the point where it's about to go under, and our push can make a difference, then we ought to push.
And what kind of push? Soldiers, money,
weapons? It depends. It could be simply a support of the indigenous forces that are involved in the democratic movement itself. You look at South Africa, for example, under Mandela. Mandela was on the U.S. terrorist list for 23 years, the ANC. But I would think the role of a U.S. democratic experiment is to say that first, bully pulpit, this is not just wrong, but we are supporting democratic forces that are trying to engage in ways of transforming this deeply apartheid-like society. If they're at the point where it looks as if they can push, provide support for the indigenous forces. Mandela, you're in jail, but we're helping your friends outside. I would say the same thing about the Middle East. In Israel itself, where are the most democratic forces in the state of Israel? There are a number of prophetic Jews inside of Israel trying to tell the truth about the rich history of both 1948. Because of course when Israel arrived, they had a choice. You coexist or you dominate. So you had Jews jumping out of burning buildings in Jew-hating Europe, right? They had to go. We're going to kill every Jew in the world. That's what the Nazi project was. But when they jumped out of the building and landed on the land, there were some people already there. So the question is, you either coexist or you dominate. There's a rich tradition, as you know from my book. There's a rich tradition of prophetic Jews saying, we're going to coexist. Martin Buber, Hakaham, and so forth and so on. Others say we're going to dominate. Jovodinsky and others. And they have this powerful struggle. And those who are out for domination won. So you get a minority of prophetic Jewish voices. We ought to be supporting those prophetic Jewish voices. Settlements, the same way. Occupation, the same way. Everybody knows you can't occupy people and not expect resistance. It's a law of nature. It's law of history in this regard. If you had Palestinian domination of Jewish brothers and sisters, you're going to get Jewish resistance. You're going to get Aragon. You don't know what Aragon was. What was that? It was a so-called Jewish terrorist group. Killed innocent Arabs in the name of resisting domination of Jews and so on. Now, I happen to believe that they're killing innocent people no matter who it is. So that, as I say, again, as American leaders, we say we may not send our troops there for the most part, even though they have a slight possibility if we can really make a difference. For the most part, not. For the most part. But we're certainly not going to go around overthrowing democratic elected people. We have some examples of that, as you know, in this history too.
Now, even if we do send our, help,
yes.
They're at that edge, we help them cross it. But even with Sharia law, and it's very patriarchal, as you said, can those two exist? Can democracy and then, having the Sharia law, can those two exist together? Is there a foundation for democracy in the Middle East that, would be worthwhile for us to lend ourselves to?
Yeah, I suggest in the text that Sharia law is so viciously patriarchal and so viciously autocratic that it may exist in the same society, but the Sharia side will be profoundly anti-democratic, and therefore I would argue it needs to be democratized. Now that doesn't, I don't reduce Islam to Sharia law, because as you know, the examples that I give of Taha and others have conceptions of Islam that go around that conception of the law. But it may be the same in the Christian case, or it'd be the same in the Jewish case. Let's say if we had our Orthodox Jewish brothers and sisters who had a chance to create a state. And it would be a Jewish state not looking like what Israel looks like now. We've got strong secular mechanisms of rule of law in terms of rights and liberties in the Arab minority, but 20% of the Israeli state is represented with the rights and liberties and rules of parliament and what have you. You have Orthodox Jews with a theocratic vision imposed on everyone. Then you say, no, there are too many elements in this Orthodox Jewish conception of what it is to create a society that needs to be called into question for any kind of claim to being democratic. And that's the same thing about theocratic visions coming out of Islam. And of course, Christianity too. Oh yes, Christianity too. Yeah.
How do you expect Israelis, most Israelis, to respond in terms of wanting to this in the face of federal powers that have attitudes similar to Nazi Germany saying, we're going to go on this?
Well, one thing is that you have to have not just a fundamental, but a striving commitment to the safety and security of Jews. And here's given 2,000 years of mission treatment program on but then saying there can be no safety or security predicated on occupation. So there can be in occupation